And welcome into Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. Late night, March 4th, we sit down and talk after the Boston Bruins lose to the Nashville Predators by a score of 6-3. A game that, boy, did the Bruins start lousy. They just did not come out with enough intensity, passion, emotion, execution, leadership, in my opinion. I'll get Razors in a moment here. And they lose the season series to the Nashville Predators by both games. They lost 4-0 in the first one in Nash, and then they lose this one 6-3. Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor, as always, proudly presented by Fazenda Coffee. Fazenda Coffee Roasters, located in Dedham, is Boston's boutique coffee roaster. They are perfect for your at-home use, or if you've got a wholesale business like a cafe, a bakery, a restaurant, they will make it happen there. They've got expertly roasted specialty coffees. They'll elevate your business. They'll help elevate your at-home coffee game because they've got an unforgettable coffee experience, fresh beans to full equipment support. Fazenda Coffee is here to make sure you and your customers are satisfied and coming back for more. Visit fazendacoffee.com/wholesale if you have a wholesale, or fazendacoffee.com/morning brew if you want to check out all things Morning Brew. FazendaCoffee.com, proud sponsor of Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. Razor, you weren't at this one. How are you doing, my friend, as we sit down and chat on this one?
Yeah, great. It was nice to be home on a Tuesday. Hit up my daughter's practice. We've only got 2 weeks left with her, so that's nice to hang out with the crew. And then listened a little on the radio, watched a little bit, put the kids to bed, and saw the result, saw what was going on, and turned on our president for a little while, to be honest with everybody.
The bearing the lead here is that the Boston Bruins make a significant trade before this game of Trent Frederic. He ends up with the Edmonton Oilers. So while the game was not pretty, it had a few moments, very few Razor moments of goodness. The game was not pretty. The start was poor. The turnovers were plentiful. Their lack of middle ice defense, very evident. The game really is not, I don't think, requires a breakdown. Would you agree on that? I mean, Stamkos scored after not producing a point in 13 games. Marchessault looked like Marchessault from the last couple of years. Ryan O'Reilly was the best player on the ice. He had 2 goals and an assist. The big guns from Nashville won it, and the Bruins guys didn't. I think the bigger story, would you agree, is talking about Trent Frederic, the impact it had on this team and where this team is headed. And they haven't been in this situation in a long time as an organization.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, Nashville has a way better roster, not even close at this point, with all the guys out of the Bruins lineup. I mean, and you're playing 4 and 6. You've traveled all over. You went back to back on the weekend. You came back home, and then you trade a guy who's really, really well liked in your dressing room that has been here a long time, has gone through a lot with everybody in that room. And then again, I'm going to bring, the injuries they have, or it's not
okay.
No one's getting through the end of these injuries. It's crazy.
I get that. But okay, I'm going to guess you didn't hear some of the post game. Let me just quickly go over a few guys, Razor, and let me, in no particular order. Charlie Coyle, not ready to go. Jordan Oesterle scores his first goal as a Bruin. Not as desperate as them. We didn't match their desperation. We weren't ready. Not acceptable. I'm paraphrasing. Geekie, didn't do our job tonight. 88, Pasternak talked about momentum killers. I mean, every time the Bruins scored within a couple of minutes, if not 90 seconds to 3 minutes, Nashville responded. Okay, all those things. I get that everything that you said, I get it. But if they're all talking about post-game about we didn't have the emotion, we didn't execute, we weren't ready to go. I understand you might lose the game, but you can't look past the fact that they didn't come out. I mean, if they're really that desperate, if they really want to still make the playoffs, where was that?
That's not fair, though. That's not fair to say that they don't want any of that. They've worked their asses off a lot, and again, it's the NHL. You need to have good play. You need to you need to make things happen too. And again, I'm not.
So, but they're the ones saying it. I'm not.
Yeah, they are, and
they're-
because that's what you're supposed to say when you lose 6-3 on home ice and you've made a trade during the day. That's media 101 in the NHL,
Okay.
right?
Mhm. Yeah,
You take
I
the
do-
blame as the player. You always take the blame. And that's what you do when you're in the NHL. It's your fault. That's so it is. Yeah, it's their fault. But
So was this game lost because they basically significant impact of the Frederick trade? And I, by the way, I do think
they
it had
have five
yeah,
injuries of all-star / Hall of Fame players. Yes,
yeah.
that's what
So
it is.
yeah, and all right. So they end up losing. They're now 1-5-2 in their last 8 games. They have 1 win, Razor, since Feb 5. They've lost 5 in a row at home. And their next 4, and you try not to look ahead too much, right? But actually, just start with the next 2 are at Carolina and at Tampa. Carolina is they've been okay lately. They're 4-6 in their last 10, but they're still a good team. What are they going to do with Mikko Rantanen? That's another conversation for another time and for another podcast. Tampa's 9-1 now in their last 10. They are arguably, you could make the argument, you don't want to face that team in the playoffs at all, and they're going to add. That Brisebois is going to add there. He's going to do something. With all that said, it is not a pretty picture, my friend, for the Boston Bruins with 19 games remaining. It sure doesn't feel good to me. Doesn't look good. And you know what? Because given all their injuries and now that they have to move some more, they got to make another couple of moves, at least attempt to. And I'm positive they will try. I think it's pretty clear the direction, those paths that we heard about many, many weeks ago, the one to the left, try and, add a little, make the playoffs, the one to the right, retool. I think it's pretty clear. It's not even pretty clear. It is abundantly clear where they're headed, in my opinion.
Yeah, they lost Charlie McAvoy, they lost Hampus Lindholm, they lost Brad Marchand all within 7 days. Yeah, so that chooses your path. Like that's how it works. And again, that's not like an indictment on anybody. That doesn't mean they're not trying. That's not why, but that's the reality. That's the NHL, folks.
Yeah. And this has just got a whole, this whole year, to me at least, Razor has had a different feel to it from training camp, from the get-go. Has had a different vibe to it. It has not had the same, I don't know what it is, Bruinsness, if that's even a term. It probably isn't. Excuse me if it's lame ass. I'm just, it's been different for me. But now we're seeing a whole, we haven't experienced this here since the 06-07 when they were out, like even when they didn't make the playoffs in 15, 16, 17, like it came down to
07 was ridiculous. You can't even go there. They were literally out of the playoffs at Christmas.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm not.
What I'm
it's
saying
not the same as that. You know what I mean?
No,
they're not out of the playoffs now.
Okay.
Like you can say they are, but they're not. They're 2 points, 3 points, 4 points out. Like in 06-07, I was around in 06-07. Like I was around.
No, what I'm saying is right. Okay. Well, you're right. That is different. But
yeah,
I don't know if they figure out a way with all these injuries, and I'm expecting 1 or 2 more moves to be made to stay in the playoff race to the end. I'd be actually pretty damn impressed. I would. Given their situation where they're at and their players that they don't have at their disposal.
Yeah.
I understand that when you're talking about very, very different. But you go back those other years where they didn't make the playoffs, it was the last weekend of the season where they were holding on to whether they were in or out. So you were tantalized, or you were kept.
Listen, they would have if they had their guys. And they had their guys. Like if they had their 2 D-man, their best D-man, and even even if they lose Brad, if they had their 2 D-man, that they would be in the mix.
They have a much better chance. Yeah.
Yeah. They're grinding.
Let's just quickly do the Apex most entertaining moment of the game. Apex Entertainment, 100,000 square feet of pure fun up in Marlboro. Go check out apexentertainment.com. I don't think there's anything that matched the Morgan Geekie goal when he gets the pass from Pavel Zacha from the right wing side, and Geekie scores on the one timer, probably 8 feet away from UC Saros. And it was 3-3 and the celebration was there. The fans got into it and the guys on the ice were into it. You could tell I loved Geekie celebration, his 20th goal of the season too. So that's my apex most entertaining moment of the game. Anything different from you?
No, that's it. And again, that I think that just shows like they do care, just from that celebration and how much, they thought they had a chance to pull out a game that that wasn't going their way.
Understatement. Was not going their way at all. Way too many turnovers. All right. Let's talk the Trent Frederic trade. Let's go over it here. If anybody listening hasn't seen the complete trade, the Boston Bruins end up trading, and there's actually a couple of parts to this. We'll simplify it. Trent Frederic ends up going from the Boston Bruins to the Edmonton Oilers, as does Max Jones. Max Jones, who only played 7 games for the Bruins this year, had no points, just a couple of shots in that time, and is signed for next season as well, Razor, at $1 million. He was signed to a 2-year deal. He ends up with the Edmonton Oilers in a separate deal. There's a third party involved in the New Jersey Devils that absorb some of Trent Frederic's contract. They move a player, etc. How about Shane LaChance getting moved from Edmonton to New Jersey? That was a nice little, not sneaky move, but a good move there, I think, by Tom Fitzgerald. Whether Shane makes it to the NHL or not, Fitzy obviously knows him well, sees him play.
Well, his dad's there, so that helps.
Exactly. I was about to say, and there's another guy there too. So that's good. I mean, I think that was a good move for them. But anyways, so Frederic, Max Jones end up with the Edmonton Oilers. The Bruins get a 2nd-round pick in 2025, a 2026 4th-round pick, and then they also pick up a defenseman, a depth defenseman, in Max Wanner, who's 21 years old. He's played in the AHL this season. He's 6'3", 185 pounds. He's got a little bit of snarl, a little edge to his game. He's got a little ways to go. I texted with a couple of people out west, Razor, about him, and one person said he had one good camp with Edmonton. He's a depth guy. He's organizational depth. Could he end up being a number 6 or 7 in the NHL? I think that's his ceiling. We'll have to wait and see. But you end up getting a 2nd-round pick that used to be St. Louis's pick. So basically, it could end up, depending on what St. Louis ends up doing the rest of the way, it could end up being a pretty high 2nd-round pick. Let's start with just the obvious. Frederic to Edmonton, the fit for Trent, and also the return for the Bruins. Your thoughts on that?
Well, the fit for Trent and the Oilers, perfect. He was coveted by a few teams out west. I took a few calls on it. And Edmonton's perfect for him. He's going to be awesome there. He's probably going to have an awesome playoff run, Bruins fans. He will be the opposite of what they have in their lineup. They've got guys in the bottom 6 that they thought were going to be better, and they've gone out and got Trent. And when he comes in off of his injury with a new place, I expect him to go on a run. I really do. I think he's going to be a difference maker for them come playoff time. So for them, it's a great deal. Whether he signs there or not, hopefully, for Trent's sake, he goes on a run and can sign wherever he wants to sign at the end of the year, because he's an awesome guy and had things cooking so well here. It just so unfortunate that the last 6 months didn't go his way, and he couldn't continue. And listen, that's the story of most NHL careers. Most are that they're not linear. They don't go straight up like a Bergeron.
And by the way, and you're right, but Bergeron even had trials and tribulations. You can't forget the injuries, right? And to your point, it's like a business. Some years are phenomenal, some years are down. You hope to eliminate the real down years. But Trent Frederic, I love the interview. And folks, if you haven't seen it, Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor had Trent sit down with us early October before the season began. We had a great interview with him. I had him pegged at, I was thinking 45, 50 points. Mm-hmm. I mean, that I thought that was kind of where I wanted him to be at. Got nowhere near that. Only a couple of scraps this year. It felt a bit different. I mean, maybe the moves that the Bruins made in the offseason too, with certain players coming in, impacted him as well. A little bit different line mates, little different usage. but it didn't take off for him this year. But I'm going to miss him as well. I just a wonderful person to deal with. Great fun stuff. One of those guys that everybody in the room seemed to enjoy, right? I wouldn't call him a kind of the Pied Piper of anything, but with a leadership in the sense of letter on the sweater, but a kind of guy that everybody had fun with. Everybody smiled when they were around Trent Frederick.
No, yeah, and we saw that in the, again, that's how the day went for these guys. It wasn't an easy day, wasn't an exciting day to go do that and go play hockey was because of that guy leaving. So I think the fit's awesome there. On the other side, I think the Bruins did a really good job getting as much out of him as he could. He wasn't, you couldn't sign him back here. You just couldn't. There was no way of doing that.
Wasn't happening.
There's zero chance. And he's, for what this group has right now, there's a little bit of crossover, I guess. I would say redundancy. That kind of a negative word. I didn't want to use it, but that's what it is. There's a few guys that do what he's doing right now, and they just couldn't sign him to whatever he's going to get. So they get a second round pick out of it. That's cool. That's fine. That's not gonna, that's not translating into anything anytime soon, but they at least start, piling that way. Some, draft picks are draft picks. I'm not changing my tune on draft. I'm not changing my tune on draft picks now this year just because they're struggling. But it was better than I thought. I thought it was more of a 4th round pick guy kind of thing. So that's good. And the Max Schultz thing's interesting. Like Edmonton might be able to use him properly. Here again, redundancy, kind of all this, he was kind of the same as Brazeau and Kepke and Kastelik. And
yes,
it's different in Edmonton. They don't have many of those guys. So Jones actually might play and might actually be a good factor for them too.
Well, he might, but boy, I tell you what, he never got rolling here. He took, especially a couple of early games that he was in, he took too many offensive zone penalties. He did not play discipline. He didn't have a good training camp. Remember, he was injured. He wasn't in great shape when he came in, Razor. What I like about this, okay, good for Max Jones. I mean, he'll maybe get an opportunity there, but the Bruins also, so they get out from his contract for next season. So now they're down to 44 contracts right now. You're allowed, folks, 50 NHL contracts. That's the max. So I think I know that this is also a move based on that opportunity to add next season more. You've eliminated $1 million on your cap. That's another thing. And you get a 4th round pick back. Okay, 4th round pick is a 4th round pick, but you eliminate that contract. So I look at that as a positive as well for the Bruins, is that it's another little thing, but it's another piece as you have to look at cap space and contract space. So I'll be interested to see if he does and how he's got the speed when he gets going. It just sometimes I just felt like I don't know, he didn't utilize it the right way with the Bruins here. And maybe that's also indicative of just where the Bruins game has been at this season too.
There's lots of guys in the league that do that, right? There's 75 guys that look the part but have no clue.
Yeah. So good luck to him. Obviously, great luck to Trent Frederick, who we've known for many years here. And again, last year with 40 points, 7 bouts, some real big hits, presence, really put himself into a position that we all hoped, you and I and the Bruins nation hoped that would elevate him to that next kind of Bruins power forward type thing, right? That guy that could put up 45, 50 points, fight you 5 to 10 times a year and be a major presence in playoffs. And it didn't end up coming to fruition, but he had a nice solid run here. And again, just being a wonderful kid, wonderful person. I think everybody who knows him wishes him well there.
Yeah, exactly. No question about that. And again, he landed in a good spot for him when he gets healthy. I think it'll fit better than trying to push him into a top 6 forward that he isn't quite ready to be that in this league yet.
He's got a couple of weeks, I'm hearing, still until he's ready with the leg. I don't know if it's an ankle or foot, but the lower leg.
And if Edmonton makes more deals, it might be all the way till April 17th.
Maybe. Depends how he is. Right.
$3 million or whatever he's getting.
You know what you can do with those draft picks, Razor, that I know you don't always believe in? You know what you can do? You can build something,
Mhm.
potentially at least. Speaking of building, Graciano Construction they build great things. If you give Doug Graciano and his crew draft picks, they will build
A
you something
second and a
beautiful.
fourth, he's got a new mudroom for you.
He does. He
Oh.
absolutely does. And might even give you a little extra heater in the bottom of the floor, you know? So visit Doug
Throw that one
Graciano.
in.
You like that
Future
one.
considerations.
There you go. You're Freddie Charles. Check out GracianoConstruction.com because they do amazing work in the Boston area, greater Metro West, and maybe even a little further than that because they're the contractor that will help you refresh and revitalize your space. And that's what the Bruins need right now, Razor. They need to start thinking of that plan to refresh and revitalize their Bruins space for next season. GracianoConstruction.com. Call 508-330-7589 to discuss what you are looking for. Home improvement projects aren't always fun, but with Graciano Construction, you will enjoy it because they take care of you, the customer first. They do what you want more than anything. The other sponsor for this program is our newest sponsor, Sunset Lake CBD, Craft CBD. I have already sat down and have enjoyed my 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 nighttime gummies, my good night gummy. I'm getting ready. A little melatonin. I got an early morning again tomorrow, so I need to get to sleep when we're done with Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. And I've absolutely loved these products. And I know Razor. How about this? I know a bunch of our listeners have already ordered using the code BREW20 BRU20 for 20% off their entire order. Go to sunsetlakecbd.com. This is the place, Razor, that they've got almost everything you could freaking want. Products that help you relax after a long day at work, gummies and tinctures to help you sleep that are important, topicals to help relieve sore muscles and aches, and even to help rehydrate dry skin. This is all high quality craft CBD product. They grow, harvest, and ship all of its craft CBD products directly from its farm in northern Vermont straight to your door. Check out sunsetlakecbd.com. You are going to love all the different things they have. $75 or more on your order. Sunset Lake CBD will ship the order for free. And again, use the code BREW20. The packaging on this stuff, I mean, it is so top shelf, man. Like,
Mhm.
you know,
It's
isn't it good looking?
premium. It's premium. It was awesome going out. I traveled on Saturday. It was perfect to get in the hotel and just cruise into bed. The stuff's good. It's
It,
really good. It tastes
and you
good,
know,
but
it tastes
it's
good.
legit.
It
Yeah.
tastes good too.
Yeah.
And it's simple to use, and they've got directions galore. And the other thing, and we'll end with this: their customer service is great. If you got questions, they will call, or they will call. You call them, and they will answer, and you talk to them about it, and they'll talk you through the stuff. So check out sunsetlakecbd.com and use the code BRU20. All right, so you've been involved with teams that have struggled
Yeah, I've
down
been
the
here
stretch.
before. Yeah,
You've been
I've
here
been here.
before.
And you
So
might
take
hear
us.
that in my tone, right? Like when I take it personally still,
Yeah,
like
I
a
get
little
it.
bit.
I get it.
Because I've been here before, and it stinks, folks. Like you might think that it's like these guys make money and it's fine, and they just want to go home, and it's really it's tough. And when you again, it wasn't supposed to, like there's places where it's supposed to be that way, and that's fine. You understand and you've dealt with
So
it and
how do you
you coped
manage it
with
then?
it in November. Now you're like, this comes at you literally today. This came at them today or in the last 8 days with the injuries, but you're trying to grind through the injuries, and then a deal happens like today, and you're like, oh shit.
Well, even though you knew the guy A was injured and out
Yeah,
at least for a couple more weeks, and B, you in general, being a Boston Bruin player,
yeah,
knew that there's a good chance he was going to get traded. It's still a
that's right.
shock,
Yeah,
especially for him. It's the first and only team he's been with.
yeah.
Respect the hell out of that. But he knew that this could happen. It's not like but it's that reality, the breakup. It's finally,
That's what I was gonna say. Like I'm
the
trying to like
final.
relate it to real life, but it's kind of like that girlfriend that you have. It's
It's
like
done, but
it's way done, but then you actually have to have that conversation. And you're kind of upset about it for a couple of days. Like even if it's even a couple hours. Like today, these guys had to process this in the afternoon, and now they play poorly at home. They get smoked. Now you got to process something else tomorrow morning, and now you're just fingernails on it.
How then do how
The deadline, the
how do
deadline's a
you get
big one
out of
now.
it?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, you'll get out of it. You will. You'll get out of it. But it's like the next 5-6 days. Do they have a trip? What's going like, or is there people on this trip this week to Carolina and Tampa? Or
I do believe there are people going to Carolina. I believe. Yes.
yeah, so it's kind of like so that'll help get through the week. But once the deadline's gone, then everyone knows where they are. And that's where you'll kind of reset again. But no, they're in flux for the next 5 days because everybody feels like they're getting dealt right now.
Because now the rumors are galore. Everybody's name has been thrown. There's been a lot
And
of
tonight's
players.
loss will just intensify that in a big way. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning.
Yeah. You've got players who are UFAs to be, and you've got guys with term. Nobody is off the hook. I mean, I personally, there's very few untouchables, in my opinion, on this team. There's, a few, and the rest, I think everybody's saying, holy smokes, I could be that next guy. I could be put in a position. And I do think that the team, Razor, they have to make a few. You don't have to blow it up today. You got to make some moves. I still think they're going to make it at least one, if not two more moves before Friday at 3 p.m. when you and I will be sitting down on Nesson doing a live trade deadline show. I just got to think we'll have a couple of more deals to talk about.
Yeah, I'm curious. There's a couple minor things you can do that seem.
I'm with you, but there's still deals.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that I'm Freddie sets the market a little bit. I still want to see kind of more out there and more what's kind of going on. There hasn't, and nothing else has happened, which is weird. Like today was Freddie was the only deal today. And now we're only 2.5 days away. So none of these like lower mid deals have happened. And I'm curious where that kind of lands.
Jake Evans was supposedly going to go from Montreal, and then he signed a 4-year deal.
Armia is probably next as Montreal keeps cruising along here.
Yeah, I wonder what they're going to do with him. He was a name that came up today that I was talking with somebody about, who has played well in his role, but he's a third, fourth liner as well. So but the talk was that Jake Evans could get a second round pick. He ends up signing. So that's off the market. That's why, actually, that's another reason, Razor, why I think Bruins, even if they're what we'll call more minor deals, I still think the returns are, for whoever that player is, I think they're actually pretty decent this year, given it's a seller's market. It is absolutely a seller's market right now. So there'll be a few more. Again, nothing. I don't know if somebody with terms going to be blown away, or they're going to blow away Donnie Sweeney with an offer. But I guarantee you, there are going to be players. There's going to be a lot of players in the Bruins are going to be asked about. I am curious to see Morgan Geekie. I am very curious to see about that. He's an RFA, so he could still, with one more year, has ARB rights, right? So the Bruins could just do that and guarantee that. Yep. On the other hand, 20 plus goals, or he's at 20 now more. What does that create? Like, you
have to get an NHL player back for him, though.
I would think so too.
Because you have an NHL player next year. If you choose to have an NHL player, that's him. And no matter what, he can't hold out, he can't hang out, he can't miss camp, whatever it is. You have an NHL player, so if you're trading him, you're getting at least one NHL player plus a high
draft pick, right,
to make it worth your while,
right?
So,
and I'm curious to see what happens there. People, Razor, they got to look at it and say, hey, he's figured out a way how to play with the superstar, and he's not just standing in front and tapping it in. He's shooting it in too, right? He's
26.
And he's 26. So does that. The reason that I say I'm very curious about him is just given how freaking well he's played after a rough start to this season, but between last year and this year. And does that put him into a category where a few teams say, holy smokes, we could get this 26-year-old player who's under contract. We can then sign him to a few-year deal I'm just saying, might create more interest than perhaps maybe people realize, given it's a seller's market. My opinion, at least.
Yeah, yeah. Or if I mean, again, the other side of it is if the Bruins found a guy who can play with Pasta and Zaka, and that can be your, one of your lines going forward,
You want to keep that.
You want a lot of value back if you are going to break that up, because who's your winger? You need two wingers if you get rid of Geekie.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying, if you get blown away, I think people. I do think there's going to be a handful of players in the Bruins with term that are going to get inquired about more than in previous years. Given,
everybody's called. The Don's had 9 calls by the time we've already dealt with this. Like a million percent, $1,000,000%. Don's got 9 calls tonight.
Yeah,
bet my life on it. It's just a matter of what the market is.
Couple of quick things before we wrap up the show. Georgi Merkulov plays 16:08 in this game. That's more three full minutes more than he played in the previous one, where I didn't think he did much. He was around the puck a little bit more in this one, but I still found it to be inconsistent. I don't know if his foot speed, like if he's up to speed yet for this level. He's playing with Lindholm and Coyle. He was on the ice for the Coyle goal in the first. I mean, my take is Book is still big time out. What any different thing from you?
No, not at all. I'm curious. I want some fan questions on that. This is like a Twitter question, because we've got Twitter questions on this guy for the entire year. Oh, he's got 30 goals in the minors. He got 30 goals in the minors, right? Like we've been hit with this. And so how long does he get to play in the NHL for without scoring?
Fair question. But
so I would love someone to allow the people like that, because it's the NHL. That's all.
One shot on goal in this game, none in the previous.
Yeah.
He did have 4 missed shots, so he had 5 total attempts.
Is that good or bad?
Well, the puck's on his. I'm going to find the puck. I like
it. I'm forcing you into being the Mr. Positive.
There you go. You see, what a show. What a show, partner.
We ham and cheese it pretty good.
I mean, I don't know if it's positive. I just know that it's better than 0 missed shots.
Yes, it is. Maybe.
But all right, so there's one. I'm wondering about Matthew Poitras. He hasn't been scoring, and it's looking.
The body language and things are coming back. Is
it time to call up? Try a Lysell. I know he hasn't been blowing the doors off down there, but is it time to call that? Is it time to call up a veteran player that can just play a more veteran role? A Brown, a Patrick Brown type of thing.
It's interesting because let's see how the next few days go. But there's certainly, maybe, man, it might be more of an old school of thought, but there's still a school of thought where you might want Poitras out of here now. You might want him down there and finish the year down there.
Get ready for playoffs and play down there.
Do the playoffs there, score 20 goals in the last month down them. Like whatever it is, get going and not be around this, because when you're not there's not much else at this point where he's at. If he's not getting points, it's not helping him.
Right.
It's just not, he's not getting better. And again, there was value to keep him in the minors all year this year. I think there's a reason for it. There is. So I'll be curious in that. But when you do that, you need to find some bodies too. You still have to play.
They've got the Vinny Letteris. They've got the Browns down there. You can call Lysell up and give him another chance. Why not?
He's probably a guy. He only got the 1 game, so
right.
I'd entertain that. I mean, he did get a point. Was on the ice for a goal anyway. So see what that gets you.
The only other player I want to talk about here before we wrap it up is Mason Lohrei. Now in 6 games since the break, since he's taken over the role as the number 1 defenseman, he's averaged. Well, he was at 23.01 in the 5 games Is it 5 games? 6 games? Anyways, coming into the Nashville game, since, no McAvoy, it's coming out of the Four Nations. 23:01, which was a couple of minutes over what he had been averaging before. He played 24:05 in this game. No points. He danced his way around the ice at times against Minnesota. No points, but he was, offensively impactful. But this game, he ends up being a -3. I think you just see the roller coaster of Mason Lowry out there. Yet, he's playing big minutes. I am also going to take the positive here. Holy smokes, Razor, you've really impacted me, buddy.
I love it. Love it.
This is all going to make him better. This is all going. These moments are going to make him better, because this isn't playing 19 minutes as the number 3, 4, 5 defenseman. This is playing 20 to 25 minutes as the number 1, owning the power play, so to speak. You know what I mean? Yep. Running it. I mean, yes, he's going to make his mistakes. These really weren't the turnovers then led to transition for Nashville coming back in this game so much. I'm not putting anything on him individually per se. He was on the ice being a -3, but overall, these are the minutes that are going to make him better, and especially playing over 23 minutes a night.
It seems fairly evident they made a conscious decision to say, okay, let's crank this kid up. Now, I still want a defined role for him by the end of the year, or at least have an idea of the role so I can tell him before the summer starts of what this is.
How are you going to get a defined role without Lindholm?
I know. Well, that's the hard part. That is the hard part. But I think there is something you can manage that here over the next month and a half, in that you can put him in situations where a second pair D-man will be in, or a third pair D-man might be in. You can start manipulating that. And I think that's a huge focus on the back end, because he is one of your top. Is he a top 5, or is he your top 4 next year? And
the hope is that he's going to be you're right. The hope is he's going to be a top 4, but
I think so.
Let's wait and see who else they add and who's around and all that stuff.
Correct. So it's interesting. It's a very developmental situation, but I think within that development, you have to put parameters and guidelines on it too.
Be interesting to see that for sure, where that goes. All right, that's going to wrap up this morning brew with Jaffe and Razor. I'd like to say thank you to Boston Warrior and the Hero Hockey Company. That's the sweatshirt that I'm wearing.
I love that yours. Sweatshirt. I just put mine in the wash. Yeah.
You wore yours the other night. We got one for RC as well. Hopefully going to be able to get it to him ASAP. Hero Hockey Company.com you can go to. Anyways, this great swag merch. Helping veterans out. Awesome stuff. Thank you for sending some stuff our way. They got the Boston Warrior hockey hats too that we both have. And so Ryan has one as well. So we appreciate that very much there. All right. Bruins lose this game to the Nashville Predators 6-3. They head on the road on Wednesday for a trip down to Raleigh, where last time they were there, they lost 8-2. That was in October. That was Halloween. So we'll see what happens. And then, because, it's only going to get even more easy, they go to Tampa on Saturday to play there. So the schedule is not friendly. Razor, you and I will be back doing a morning brew with Jaffe and Razor after Thursday's game. I think we're going to do it based out of Nesson, because we're both going to be there, albeit doing different things. And then Friday, you and I are doing a trade deadline show at Nesson starting at 2:30 to 4 o'clock, a live trade deadline show to make sure to check in. In the meantime, hang in there. I say the same thing every time at the end right now. Hang in there.
Yeah.
Keep enjoying whatever you're drinking, especially your coffee. All right. Talk to you on Thursday.